Hi, I'm Jason here at Yama Yoga in Milwaukee's 3rd Ward. For those of you who are tuning in, welcome. And please don't forget to donate to us. The link is at the bottom of the video. If you can click on that and donate to the studio, that would be great to help us get through this tough time. Today we're going to be working on alignment flow. And this class, we're not going to be getting off the ground too much. It's going to be very floor-oriented to kind of get us grounded. But hopefully we'll get through the whole body and make you feel like you had a good workout. So to begin with, if you come to an opening meditation posture, if you can sit in Vajrasana with your hips on your heels, then do that. If you have a block at home, a yoga block, you can put that underneath your hips and just sit down and take some of the pressure off of the knees and the ankles. If this is entirely too uncomfortable for your legs. Whatever you're doing, when you find your spot, then lift up through the center of your chest. Take the shoulders back and let them release away from the ears. And you can soften the focus of the eyes, let the eyes close if you like. Otherwise, just look down toward the ground in front of you. And start by bringing your attention to your exhales, sinking down from the crown of the head toward the floor. Letting the sides of the body release down toward the floor and sinking down into the hips wherever you're touching down. Allow the hips and the sitting bones to release firmly into the ground, into a block. Just letting the tension release through the body down into the floor. Wherever you're touching down into the ground or into a prop, just sensing into that contact. And allowing yourself to rest on that support. After a few rounds of breath, starting to allow the inhales to move into the abdomen. Think of the breath expanding in the abdomen, moving into the hips and up into the chest. Without trying to force the breath or control the breath, just allowing the breath to happen. As you become more aware of the breath and the body, beginning to allow deeper areas of tension to release, maybe the space between your shoulder blades or in your lower back, allowing the jaw to soften a little bit more. With the next inhale, then bring the palms together at the center of the chest. Keeping the chest open, still allowing the shoulders to release away from the ears. With the next exhale, bow the face down toward the hands. Release the hands down onto the knees or onto the thighs, and as you inhale, then lift the face and open the eyes. I'm going to come into Baddha Konasana first. So having a seat on the mat, bring the soles of the feet together, knees out wide. We'll start off here just holding on to the ankles, lifting up through the center of the chest and working to get toward the front edge of your sitting bones. As much as you can, allowing your legs to release so you're not pulling them in toward the body or pressing them down toward the floor quite yet. So lifting through the center of the chest, draw the shoulders back, shoulder blades down, and then lift out through the crown of the head, sitting up as tall as you can. Still allowing the breath to move into the abdomen. Taking a few breaths here as much as you can, again softening the thighs, allowing the knees to release toward the floor as much as possible. From here we're going to come into Tarasana, to star pose, but if you take your hands and flip them underneath the ankles so that your forearms or your elbows are braced against your inner thighs. We'll inhale and lift the chest up, shoulders back and down, and as you exhale, pulling with the hands to come forward from the hips. If you keep a strong lift through the center of the chest, working to keep the spine long, keeping the head neutral so that you're not dropping the chin or craning the neck like that. Just keeping the neck neutral. As you inhale, drawing forward through the sternum bone, opening the chest, and as you exhale, pressing the elbows into the thighs and pulling with the hands to bring yourself a little bit closer to the feet. With the next inhale, then lifting back up, You're going to take the hands out from underneath the ankles. If you place the backs of the hands on the insides of the hips like this and bring your elbows forward. So bringing the elbows toward the feet. From here, we're going to close the thighs in to the elbows and squeeze the elbows toward each other with the legs. Just to open up the back of the shoulders, the space in between the shoulder blades a bit. Still working on lifting through the center of the chest, and as you exhale, squeezing just enough so that you feel that stretch, not so much that you feel like you're dislocating anything. So a few more breaths like this, squeezing the elbows toward each other. With the next exhale, then release the knees toward the floor. Take the hands out, place them underneath the ankles again, catching hold of the ankles and lifting up through the center of the chest, open the chest up. And again, as you exhale, pressing the elbows into the thighs, pulling with the hands and coming forward from the hips. Seeing if you can go a little bit further this time, but still keeping that openness in the chest and keeping the back long. With the next inhale, then lifting back up, you can release the hands. We'll bring the knees together, and then coming to hands and knees on your mat. Heels of the hands underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips. And what we're going to do then is bring the big toes to touch and take the knees out toward the edges of the mat. From here, sitting back toward the heels, and then take the arms forward and release the forehead down to the mat, coming to Adho Mukha Virasana, or downward facing hero. Taking a few breaths here, lengthening through the sides of the torso, and then releasing down to the floor. With the next inhale, coming back to hands and knees. We'll tuck the toes under. And from here, pushing back through the heels to extend the legs, coming to plank. Reaching down into the knuckles of the fingers, reaching back through the feet. Space between the shoulder blades is open, abdomen lifting toward the spine slightly. We'll stay here for a few breaths. And with the next exhale, then pressing back to downward dog, then sinking the heels toward the mat, letting the head hang toward the floor, really lifting the thighs back, sitting bones extended up and back. With the next inhale, we'll come forward to plank. So again, establishing the thighs, opening up the space between the shoulder blades, keeping the right foot where it is, bring the left leg up and stretch back through that heel. Shoulder blades down, reaching out through the center of the chest and the crown of the head. With the next inhale, we're going to lift back to three-leg dog, pushing through that left heel, right heel extended down toward the floor, keeping the arms extended, the sides of the body long. With the next inhale, coming forward to plank again, and exhale and put that foot down. And then with the next inhale, right leg will come up. Keeping both legs extended out through the heels, center of the chest extended forward. With the next inhale then, coming back to three-leg dog, pushing through your right heel, working to ground your left heel, keeping the sides of the trunk long. With the next inhale, coming forward, placing the right foot down again, coming back to plank. From plank, we're going to come back to downward dog again. And from down dog, coming down to hands and knees. Taking the hands slightly forward in front of the shoulders. Keeping the toes tucked. Reach back through the sitting bones and bring the center of the chest down toward the mat. On an inhale, coming back up, placing the hands underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips. And from here, we're going to come back into downward dog. So this time, bringing the feet a little bit closer to the hands. So I'm going to come into downward dog.
And then bring my feet forward slightly so I can kind of ground my heels a bit more. So if you think reaching into your heels, really lifting the thighs back and then pushing the top of the mat away from you to help to create some resistance and some more extension through the hamstrings and the calves. And from here then, taking the feet back, reestablishing downward dog like you would normally do it. And with the next inhale, coming forward to plank again. From plank, reaching back through the heels, out through the center of the chest. And as you exhale then, knees come down to the mat. You're going to cross the ankles behind, sit back, and extend the legs forward, coming to Dandasana. In Dandasana, lifting up through the center of the chest, extending out through the feet, lifting through the crown of the head. Taking a few breaths in Dandasana. We're going to work with Navasana, with boat pose a bit. So if you bend your knees, bring the feet to the floor, and then catch hold of the back of the knees like this. Pulling back with the hands a bit, shoulder blades down, center of the chest lifted up. So starting off with just the upper body, think lifting up out of your hips and bringing your weight more toward the front edge of your sitting bones, keeping the shoulder blades strongly down the back. As you exhale, draw the abdomen in and think especially the lower part of your abdomen, the very lowest part of your abdomen activating. So to keep the chest lifted up, keep that effort in your lower abdomen and start to lean back. So leaning back until your feet become light. And you're going to let the feet hover above the mat. We're going to work on bringing the weight toward the front edge of the sitting bones and still really engaging the lower part of the abdomen, the very low belly. Keeping the chest open. From here, then, bringing your shins to about parallel with the floor. We'll start off here, still holding on to the legs, and working on really engaging the lower abdomen. With the next exhale, then, you can set the feet down. Lift the chest up, come more toward the front edge of your sitting bones again. As you inhale, lifting the chest up, opening the chest, shoulder blades down as you exhale. And again, engaging the very low part of the abdomen. And again, we're going to lean back, keeping the low abdomen active, bringing the feet to hover above the mat. Still working on lifting strongly through the center of the chest, keeping the abdomen in. And now think reaching out through the crown of your head, taking the head back slightly. From here, we're going to bring the legs back so that the shins are about parallel with the floor. Make your feet active, especially the ball mounds of the feet. And from here, when we go into Navasana, a lot of times we think about pulling with the thigh muscles to straighten out the knees. What I want you to do right now is think pushing through the ball mounds of the feet to extend the legs away from you and let your upper body extend back. Keeping the low part of the belly active, still holding onto your legs. And then we'll come back and set the feet down. Take a rest. Let the breath move down into your abdomen, opening up the lower abdomen. Take a few rounds of breath like that. And then again, as you inhale, opening the chest up, lift the face. Thinking of keeping the chin away from the chest, so you're not looking down toward your feet, but keeping kind of a royal tilt to the head. So then as you exhale, lower abdomen in again, start to lean back. Bring the feet, or the shins, to about parallel. And again, keeping that effort in your lower abdomen, you're going to press out through the ball mounds of the feet again, extending the legs away from you, letting your upper body extend back. And then from here, experimenting with taking the hands away from the legs and reaching toward the feet. Working to keep your head and your feet on the same plane, keeping the lower abdomen active. And then from here, you can release back down. Extend the legs out. Come to Dandasana, hands alongside the hips, shoulders back and down, center of the chest up. Taking a few breaths in Dandasana. So with the next exhale then, again, engage your lower abdominals. So really thinking about getting the lowest part of your abdomen active. And lift the chest up, take the hands back behind you a bit and lean back. So we're lifting up out of the hips, keeping that effort in the lower abdomen. Take an inhale, and as you exhale, then leaning back, bend your elbows and pull the legs up. So now from here, press through the ball mounds of the feet, keeping the lower abdomen active, and then hands out toward the feet, coming to Navasana, into boat pose. Hands come back to the mat, feet come down, and we'll come back to Dandasana. And from here, we're going to work on lifting up away from the floor to get some strength in the upper body, working toward poses like elephant's trunk and scales pose. So if you lift up through the center of your chest, press into the palms of the hands. So again, activating your lower abdomen, we're going to lift the hips up as much as you can, even if it's just making them lighter on the mat. So do that a few times. As you exhale, release down. Take an inhale, exhale, press into the hands, try to bring the hips up off the mat. And you can release back down. If you have blocks, you can put blocks underneath your hands to help get a little bit extra height underneath your hips. If you don't have blocks, you could use books, I guess, or a stack of magazines, but blocks are probably safer. So again, you're going to lift up, bringing the hips up away from the mat. As you exhale, release back down. So what I'm going to have you do then is if you take your feet off the mat, pull the mat back a little bit so you have just bare floor. If you have a towel or a blanket at home, you can put that underneath your heels so you have some slide. Ideally, you'll be on a hardwood floor or something like that. So what we're going to do then is lift up through the center of the chest. And again, I'm going to press into my hands to bring my hips up off the floor a bit. Then as I exhale, draw the lower abdomen in and pull the feet and the hips back. With the next inhale, coming forward, exhale and release back down. So to keep going like that, exhaling into the hands, pulling the abdomen in. As you inhale, pull the hips back and up. Exhale, push the feet forward, release the hips back down. And again, pressing into the hands, lifting up, abdomen in, pull the hips back, and then push forward and release back down. One more time, we're going to lift up, abdomen in, pull the hips back, push forward, and then come back down. If you need a little bit more space like I do, scoot forward a little bit. So I'm going to do one more, trying to pick the feet up off the mat. Let's do a few more, trying to pick the feet up off the mat. So again, square the shoulders, open the chest. Take an inhale. As you exhale, engage the abdomen, press into the hands, hips up. Start to inhale to pull the hips back. And then from here, if possible, lift the heels up, set them back down, push back out, and release back down. So again, lifting up, press into the hands, pull the hips back, lift the abdomen in, try to pick the heels up, set them back down, push forward, and come back down. And we'll try that one more time. So pressing into the hands, lift the hips up, pull the abdomen back, pull the hips back, see if you can pick the heels up, and then push forward and back down. All right, good times. So you can get rid of the blanket or the towel or whatever. Open up your mat again. We're going to cross the legs back toward the body. Come forward to hands and knees again. What I'm going to have you do with down dog this time, if you bring the knees and the feet close together and then tuck the toes, we're going to come into downward dog with the big toes touching and squeezing the heels toward each other. Press the top of the mat away from you, grounding into the knuckles. Think of the hip creases deepening and then reaching through the heels in downward dog. Then from here, as you inhale, bring your right leg up. And as you exhale, step that right foot forward to the outside of your right hand. So you're coming into a wide lunge here. Left leg stays strong, reaching back through that thigh, back through the heel. And with the next inhale, we're going to lift up to crescent pose. It's going to feel weird because that foot is out wide. Oops. And what I want you to think about while you're here is really sinking into this front foot. So the left leg stays strong, sinking into the right foot. And if you think reaching out through the inner line of your right thigh and then pulling from the outside of your right thigh back into that hip. So drawing the outside edge of that hip back. At the same time, grounding into the foot and letting that spread out both sides. You can keep the arms down or you can bring the arms up, whatever you like. We're going to stay here for a few breaths. With each exhale, see if you can sit a little bit further into the pose, trying to bring that front thigh as close to parallel with the mat as you can. With the next exhale, reach forward. Hands come down to the inside of that right foot. And from here, back to three-leg dog. And then putting the feet down. Bring the big toes to touch, heels close together. With the next inhale, left leg up. And then bring that left foot to the outside of your left hand. And again, start off getting that right thigh very strong. And then we'll lift the chest up. So coming into crescent pose, again thinking the inner thigh extending from the inner groin out through the inner knee, but pulling from the outside of the thigh back into the hip, grounding into the inner arch of your foot and letting that move toward the pinky toe side. So keeping the back leg strong, again, arms up, or you can bring them out to the sides or down alongside the body, whatever feels more comfortable for you. But keeping that effort in the legs, and with each exhale, working to sit a little bit closer to the floor. As you exhale then, hands go forward, down to the mat, and again, back to down dog with the feet close together. From here, we'll bring the right foot forward. I'm going to lift up to crescent pose again. So this time, foot right in front of the hip. And again, reaching through the inner line of the leg, reaching back through the outer line of the leg. Arms up. We'll interlock the fingers and catch the back of the head. Elbows close toward each other. Think reaching the elbows toward the ceiling as the shoulder blades come down. Head presses back into the hands. And then keeping that effort in the legs. With the next inhale, arms up. Exhale, the hands down to the mat. And back to downward dog. And then from here, left foot forward and lifting up to crescent pose. Again, inner line of the leg lengthening, outer line of the leg shortening, sinking into that front foot, and then arms up. Change the interlock of the fingers, and again, catch across the base of the skull, elbows toward each other, shoulder blades down, lifting the head back into the hands, and keeping the effort of the legs. Next inhale, arms up. And exhale, hands come down. From here, back to down dog again. And from down dog, we'll come down to hands and knees. So we're going to start to work toward going into tail of the peacock, Pincha Mayurasana. So to build some strength for that, we're going to start off going into dolphin pose. So if you come down onto your forearms, the elbows underneath the shoulders, we're going to go into downward dog like you normally would, bringing the center of the chest back, lifting the thighs back, again sitting bones lifting up and back, taking a few breaths here. As you exhale, coming down to hands and knees. So if you bring your arms forward a little bit, give yourself some more space behind you. And you'll see why in a second here. So, firming my forearms down into the mat, keeping my elbows about shoulder distance apart. I don't want them to be too wide, too close together. So right underneath the shoulders with the elbows, wrists right out in front of the elbows, palms to the floor. Then firming the palms down into the ground, forearms into the ground as much as possible. And again, we're going to come into elbow dog. From here, moving the feet back a little bit, I'll inhale forward to elbow plank. And take a few breaths here. And then lifting the hips up, feet come in, elbow dog. And then coming back to elbow plank. And again, lifting up to elbow dog. From here, we're going to take the right leg up, reaching through that heel. Letting your left heel extend toward the mat. As you exhale, put the right foot down. Then we'll inhale, left leg up. Right heel releasing toward the mat. And exhale, bring that foot down. With the next exhale, come down to the knees. and set up like you would for downward dog. So we're going to work on building strength in the arms for tail of the peacock. And so this is going to be a movement that I want you to be cautious with and just experiment with, and if it doesn't work out for you, then don't do it. You can just go into elbow dog. But what we're going to be doing is elbow dog push-ups, essentially. So coming into down dog, I'm going to take a few breaths into my abdomen and ground into my feet and into my hands. From here on an inhale, I'm going to think tucking the elbows toward each other, so externally rotating the biceps, and then descending my elbows down to touch the mat if possible, and then pushing back up. So there's one. And then we'll inhale, elbows come down again, touch the mat. Exhale, there's two. We'll do this one more time. Inhaling, elbows down, touch the mat, and then press back up. And then come down to hands and knees. So when I'm going into the pose, I want to be very careful about keeping my elbows underneath my shoulders and keeping the arms moving at the same speed, so that when I go into the pose, I'm not flaring out like that, nor am I dropping one elbow and then the other, and then jerking one up and pushing back up. It's not really going to help you to build the strength that you need to build in order to get into tail of the peacock. So we'll do that a few more times. Come to down dog. And again, thinking of externally rotating the biceps here, opening your shoulder blades, starting to aim the points of the elbows toward the ground or in toward each other. And again, inhaling down to touch the mat, exhaling to push back up. Inhaling down to touch the mat, exhaling to push back up. And then one more time, inhaling down and exhaling to push back up. And then come down to hands and knees again. So, to start to get used to getting upside down, we're going to work a little bit with handstand, not actually going into handstand unless you're at that level, in which case feel free. We're going to come to hands and knees again and come into downward dog. From down dog, I'm going to walk my feet toward my hands. And then from here, taking one leg up, coming up onto my toes, and I think reaching through my right foot and then working to bring my weight over my wrists. And then I'll exhale, left heel down, right foot comes down. Inhaling, left leg up, reaching through that foot, coming up onto my right toes, and then moving forward, bringing my shoulders over my wrists. And then I'll come back down and rest that foot. And you can bring the feet in a little bit closer and try again. Trying to move forward, and exhaling and bringing that foot back down. So we're just trying to draw the body up over the shoulders to start to get over that fear of being upside down. Okay, so then coming down to hands and knees again. All right, so get yourself psychologically prepared. Take a few breaths in Vajrasana. And we'll work on coming into Pincha Mayurasana. You can use a wall for this if you'd like, putting yourself close to a wall. So if my mat was where the wall and the floor meet, I'd be back maybe 4 to 6 inches away from the wall. Bringing the palms to the floor again, same alignment. Elbows under the shoulders, wrists out in front of the elbows, palms to the floor. And from here, we're going to come into elbow dog. So if you're kicking up to a wall, you'll kick one foot up to touch the wall. If you're at the center of the room, looking forward toward your thumbs as much as you can, left foot in, we're going to kick the right leg up, and then bring that foot back down, and then we'll switch sides. So left foot up, kicking, and coming back down. And you can repeat that however many times you'd like on each side. If it feels wonky, whatever, it's just yoga. But just try it a few times until you start to gain confidence. If having a wall by you will make you feel more confident, great. If you don't have wall space in your house or your apartment, you can always shut a door and use that. Just tell whoever's on the other side of the door not to open it. So, trying to go into tail of the peacock completely here. Again, elbows to the mat under the shoulders, wrists out in front of the elbows. Coming into elbow dog. And from here, whichever leg is the strongest one, bring that foot in, Right leg will go up. I'm going to kick my feet over my head and then work on engaging what we were working on before with Navasana, the lower abdomen. Should have said that before. So, coming into elbow dog. Again, whichever leg is strongest, we're going to kick and engage the lower abdomen as we come into the pose. So your legs will bend a little bit. So let that happen. And engaging the lower abdomen. Coming back down if you need to. Apparently today my body doesn't want to do this. But we'll try a third time. So again, if you can get your feet to a wall or to a door, then you have that support and you can work on holding the pose while the breath is still going. So we'll try one more time. And when you come down, then you can sit in Vajrasana. You can do downward hero or child's pose just to give yourself a rest. And just take a few breaths, let yourself recover from being upside down. It's never a good idea to do any inverted poses and then just jump up and act like you can keep going like nothing's wrong. So you get lightheaded, maybe nauseous. So treat yourself like a precious object a little bit. All right, so from here then we're going to come forward, cross the ankles, sit back over the feet, and extend the legs out. Moving so that you're toward the front edge of your sitting bones. Lifting up through the center of the chest. So coming back to Dandasana. And from here, if you bend your left knee back toward your body, we're going to work on Marichyasana a little bit, just a seated twist, to start to draw the practice to a close. So start off by lifting up through the center of your chest, shoulders back and down. We're going to cross the left foot over the right thigh. And then from here, right arm up, extending through the right side of the body. As you exhale, right elbow to the outside of the left thigh, left hand to the floor behind you. And then sit up tall, think rib cage, moving forward toward your thigh. And as you exhale, then rolling the chest open, shoulder blades down the back, center of the chest lifting up, and grounding into your sitting bones as much as possible. As you exhale, releasing back to center, extend the legs forward. And then right foot comes back, cross that foot over. Start off by sitting up tall, then left arm up. And as you exhale, left elbow to the outside of the right thigh, right hand to the mat behind you. So again, lifting the chest up, shoulders down, grounding into your sitting bones, then bringing the rib cage forward toward your thigh as much as possible to help to lengthen the spine. And then opening up to the right, looking back over your right shoulder. As you exhale then, releasing back to center and extending the legs forward. So we're going to work up into the shoulders a little bit in this twist. So I'm going to sit and face this way, so this thing, so that when I twist to the left, you can see what I'm doing. Hold on, technical difficulties. All right, I got it. Okay, so lifting up through the center of the chest, again, left foot comes back, crossing that over. So again, what I'm going to do, left hand to the floor behind me, right arm up, and I'm going to bring that elbow to the outside of the thigh. So then here, I'm going to bring my hip up off the ground and try to walk my arm out on my thigh a bit more, and then drop that hip. So then lifting up through the center of the chest, I'm going to take this right hand and bring it down toward the ground so that my shoulder blade is kind of rolling forward a bit. And then rolling my left shoulder back to open the chest. So ideally what I'd be able to do is put this hand into this little window that's created by my thighs here, which I can't do that right now. But I'm going to keep lifting through the center of the chest and reaching that hand toward the floor just to open up the back a little bit more. And then looking back over my left shoulder. So we're working on binding Marichyasana. So Baddha Marichyasana. With the next exhale, releasing back to center, extending the legs forward. And then switching to the other side. So right foot comes back, cross that foot over, and again, sit up tall. Left arm up, and then bringing that to the outside of the right thigh. And again, hip comes way up to try to get the triceps a little bit further out on that thigh. Right hand to the mat behind me. I'm going to lift up, ground my right hip, open the chest, and then think about bringing this left. So moving toward the thighs and opening the chest to the right. Back to center. And extend the legs out in front of you, coming to Dandasana. And lift up through the center of the chest. Shoulders back and down. And we're going to come back to Baddha Konasana, bound angle, like we did at the beginning of class. So, soles of the feet together, knees out wide. And then taking the hands and scooping them underneath the ankles. So elbows or forearms are braced against the inner thighs and lift up. But you think almost like you're bicep curling your legs. So you're going to pull with your hands so you feel your biceps activate. Open the chest up. Keep that lift through the crown of the head, and then as you exhale, pulling with the hands to come forward. You should be able to go a little bit further forward than you did the first few times at the beginning of class. Coming into Tarasana, star pose. We'll inhale and lift back up. And again, taking the backs of the hands to the hips, elbows to the inside of the thighs. Sit up tall, start to squeeze the points of the elbows toward each other with the thighs. And just feeling that stretch through the back of the shoulders, and the inside edges of your shoulder blades across the upper back. And then as you exhale, you can release that down. All right, I'm going to come to Dandasana again. From here then, if you'd like, you can catch the backs of the knees and then recline back on the mat. If you do not feel comfortable laying back in Shavasana, then again, you can come to Vajrasana, or you can come to a seated, whatever is comfortable for a closing meditation or for Shavasana. So then finding whatever you're going to do for the relaxation at the end here. I'm going to sit up because it would be weird for me to just be laying here while you're watching this video. So I'm sitting up in Vajrasana. And again, starting to release down into the hips, releasing down to wherever you're contacting the floor. Again, you can allow the eyes to close or just soften the focus. And then coming back to your breath. So exhaling and sinking down into the floor. Feeling the support of the floor under you. If you're lying down or if you're sitting up, wherever you're touching into the floor, feel that support. And as you exhale, release into that support. Just knowing that the floor can support the full weight of your body. So you don't need to hold anything back. You can completely release into the floor. With your inhales, allowing the breath to expand out beyond the perimeters of the lungs, beyond the abdomen. Letting the breath move into the hips, down into the legs. Moving the breath up into the shoulders and out into the arms. Feeling the breath move from the nostrils up into the crown of the head, down through the throat. Just continue with every exhale to sink into that support, allowing the floor to just completely support your full body weight. Maybe even having the sense that the floor is rising up to meet the body, so you can release a little bit more deeply. Now allowing your body to stay relaxed, slowly starting to follow your inhales back. If you don't feel like coming out of Shavasana quite yet, you can just keep going. Otherwise, with the next exhale, move through the fingers and toes, allowing your breath to become more deliberate, bringing yourself back to a state of wakefulness. Bring the hands to rest on the abdomen if you're lying down, soles of the feet to the floor. Slowly turn onto your side. If you're sitting up, just slowly coming back to a state of wakefulness more and more. If you're lying on your side, slowly come up to seated. And then bringing the palms of the hands together at the center of the chest. Let the shoulders drop off the ears, keeping the chest open. May you be well. May you be happy. May you be peaceful. May you be loved. Namaste. Thank you for joining me. Again, my name is Jason. I'm here at Yama Yoga in the 3rd Ward. If you are feeling generous and you would like to support the studio or the teachers at the studio, you can always click the link at the bottom of the video, and you can donate and help support us. I appreciate your time. And keep checking back. We're going to keep adding videos, not just me, but other teachers from the studio will be adding videos. So there should be more content coming up. So thanks again. Have a good day.